What's up, everybody? It's Clint from the Diehard MMA podcast. This show was filmed exclusively for odds.com. Make sure you click the link below, check it out. Make sure you drop a like, and good luck on all your action.
Next up, we've got Joaquin Buckley taking on Alessio Di Chirico. Another fun one. Knockout of the year winner, Joaquin Buckley, returns to the octagon. We had the under 2.5 that night. That was a fun one to be on. This dude's just solid everywhere. He's extremely fast, big pop in his punches. I feel like he might actually be able to drop a weight class if he wanted to. He's just a little undersized for the division. But I feel like the UFC is setting him up for another highlight here. He's got Alessio Di Chirico in front of him, who, let's be honest, he's solid everywhere, but he's not great anywhere. Like, he does everything well enough. He's UFC caliber, but he's mid-tier. He just doesn't stand out really anywhere. I don't see Di Chirico giving Buckley a problem at any point in this fight. And if you recall, Alessio Di Chirico nearly won his last fight, one of my worst bad beats of 2020. We had a bet on Alessio Di Chirico. It was 1-1 going into the third, and he took a head kick with literally 1 second left on the clock to lose the third round on the judges' scorecards and lost a unanimous 29-28 going the other way. But he's showing a little bit of durability problems. Because of that, with the power we know Buckley's got, with the speed advantage that Buckley is going to enjoy, I think he's the rightful favorite here. And he's sitting currently, I mean, the secret's out on Buckley after the knockout of the year. You're not going to get a discounted price on this kid anymore. He's about minus 270 with the comeback about plus 225 on Alessio Di Chirico. How do you like this one, Gianni?
That's the problem, man. When you do something as incredible as what Buckley did and it catches fire and goes viral, the value's gone. I mean, at least for a little bit. And as a bettor, that's the only thing I'm looking for. You know, and I hate to put it this way, but at least until he's beaten or really doesn't have a good night, you know, like where questions come out, you're not going to get the best of it. Like, you got to look either fade and probably wait late and wait for bettors to drive the line up, because that's what's going to happen. I mean, this line opened 275. It got bet up to 325. Now, up at 325s, 350s, I'm sure you're going to see some sharp guys come in and bet the Alessio side, because the line is too high at that point, meaning the break even is going to be around 75% or so to have any kind of edge. You got to conclude it. He wins over 80% of the time. And as non-dominant as Alessio is everywhere, as you touched on, where he's not better anywhere, I'm not too sure you could conclude that Buckley wins this fight. If they fought in your backyard 10 times, he's going to win 9 out of 10 times. And that's where the problem is. The flip side of that is he's young, he's got momentum, he's got confidence. Those are things you can't quantify. But as a bettor who's been betting as long as I have, rest assured they matter and they exist. And especially in one athlete sports, where the mental side is so much bigger than team sports, because you're going to affect so many different people in different ways. But with individuals, it becomes personal. It's very different. And that's why I think with the Buckley, the train's left the station as far as value goes, or the level of competition is going to have to get a lot better. He doesn't necessarily have to have a bad night. He doesn't necessarily have to get beat. That'll derail the hype. That'll derail at least the hype and the overvalue stamp. But that doesn't even have to happen. The level of opposition has to improve, because, I mean, we saw even against Jordan Wright, he opens minus 180, closes minus 250. I mean, after that, Buckley, after he had that finish where he was an underdog, remember, he closed close to a 2-1 underdog. Now you're having to lay 3-1 on him. That's a big difference. Like, the role has reversed, and you're not going to get value on him. And again, let's not forget, he was a 3-1 underdog to Holland. You know, so it's not as if he's been in this favorites role over and over and over again and produced a ton of money. So I think he's the rightful favorite. I think he wins this fight. Like you said, I just don't see the betting value in it. in even adding into a parlay, which is negative EV anyway. I guess maybe because it is, you could just toss it into a parlay. Maybe you could do that, but I don't see the line value at minus 275, 300. I just don't.
I'm right there with you, and that's something that I actually got to tip my hat. I learned from you on the other shows that you put on is you've got to be aware of like the Patriot tax. You know what I mean? When someone does something in front of everybody, that number's not going to be what it should be. Should
and
Buckley be minus 175?
And no, and sorry, not to interrupt you, but that's what happens. The spread becomes the great equalizer. And as a bettor, that's all I could ever hope for. Like, just because I get, like, you nailed it, the Patriots. For a while, the books know they're going to get bet on, so they're going to add a premium to them. Instead of making them -7, they're going to be -8.5, -9. Me as a bettor, I'm going to want to bet that underdog. I'm getting 2 points better in the NFL. It's the best you could ever hope for. Now, that don't mean they're going to go out there and not cover. That doesn't mean I'm going to win that bet either. They still got to go play the game. The randomness is going to nod its head like we always say. A lot can happen. But my job's to place good bets. After that, my job's done.
Yep.
And I think with Buckley, he's not in a position right now where the market's allowing you to place a good bet on him. That's the problem. And if you're going to have to try to get creative to do that and figure out, let me see if I could find a cheaper way by method of victory, now you're making it harder than they need to be. You're playing psychic instead of sports better. And we know how that turns out, So again, I love what I see in Buckley. And as the competition gets better, there'll be chances for us to bet him. It's just not right now.
Agreed. And that's, I don't mind the look on the parlay. I do think he wins this fight. The line value isn't quite there, like you said. Parlays aren't always super, super EV when it comes to MMA. But I don't mind it so much with this one. I do see him winning. Maybe a sneaky look for me. I do kind of end up being a little contrarian with some people because of like what we talked about, public perception, and I guess we should call it the McGregor tax in MMA. But I think maybe a sneaky look would be the over 2.5 in this spot. He's gone a decision 4 times if you count his loss, and that's all Alessio Di Chirico does is go to decision, and the kid's never been knocked out before. So even though he got clipped in his last fight and dropped, he didn't actually get knocked out. That chin has held up. Might be a sneaky spot to say, hey, we're not going to bet the side, bet the total. You're getting plus 105.
Now you're thinking like a sports bettor, honestly, not like an MMA fan. Like, wait a minute. The narrative is he's a killer. The narrative is if he touches you, you're lights out. He's favored, so he should win this fight. How should he win this fight? He's going to by finish. You're not going to get a good price on that. If that's the narrative, you're almost never going to get good value there. As a bookmaker, why would I want to give that to you? My job's to try to manage risk and actually have you take the worst of it, not the best of it. You're already taking the worst of it because you're paying the play with VIG every time you lose. But just the fact of with the line. And before we move on to the next fight, again, I don't want to delay this, but you mentioned something that's so important, and that's parlays. I know bettors like to bet parlays, especially in MMA, because we don't want to bet favorites. We don't want to lay minus 300. So we say, hey, let me look for another minus 200 and I'll just tie them together and get a better price. That's not a good way to bet. That I don't like to criticize people. I don't like to do that. But anyone that constantly is doing that, I'm pretty sure they're negative lifetime earnings. You're not a winning bettor doing that. They're not correlated, meaning the outcome of the Buckley fight has nothing to do with the outcome of the Holloway fight. Mm-hmm. So if those outcomes aren't correlated, why would they be on a parlay? You're just parlaying them because you don't want to lay minus 300. Again, first, that fact alone should have you second guessing. But here is another argument. When you place a parlay, you got to place it at that moment, at that book, and at that line. Like if you bet a 3-fighter parlay, a 4-fighter parlay, a 2-fighter parlay. And we already know, as an optimum sports bettor, we're supposed to shop for the best lines. We're supposed to bet at the optimum time. How can you do that if you're forced to put all your plays in at one time at that one book. It's contradictory to everything that a winning sports bettor should do. Like, so there really shouldn't be an argument. And again, if you're doing it for entertainment, parlay away, baby. Play those lotto tickets. I hope you cash them and crush your bookmaker. But if you're betting hard-earned money and you're really trying to be a winning sports bettor, lose the parlays. I don't care if you bet $5 to win back $1. So much better off than betting $5 on 2 minus 300 fighters. Long term, you'll do better. You really will.
Agreed. Absolutely. Something I'm adding to my list of working on in 2021. I'm having a nice little balancing act between being a podcaster and YouTube personality, as well as being a serious bettor. So finding that sweet spot where I can make some money and still have some fun.
With the shows with the UFC, like on the line. Like the only reason I'm in that chair is because I could win long term. And lucky for me, the first season I turned the profit, and the second season I turned the profit. That's the only reason I'm in that seat, because I that's what I can do. But everything's stacked against me. I have to use the lines they give. I have to give my picks on the day they choose. Like it's not optimum betting. Like, you know what I mean? None of any of these preview shows, prediction shows, it's not optimum. It's not really optimum betting. So that's why I like to, and on top of picks, try to give actionable information that the people watching can use in their own handicap, in their own betting, like how you thought about the Buckley, where will be overvalued. The narrative is finished. Those kind of things I think are so much more valuable than giving someone a winning pick on a free pick video. At least that's how I look at it.
I feel you.